Don't say what you said to me. Phone later and later.
Marvellous, thank you. Welcome back. Is Nigel back or is he still?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Hi, Nigel.
Hi.
Right, we are now moving to page 257 with Julie to talk us through the done well next steps, potential next steps, general discussion.
Yes, so I'll take it that you've read the report and the attachment. And so where we're at now is we need to seek approval to participate in the next stage of the work that we would need to do, enable us to consult on a model council CCO option as part of the options that we consider on the long-term plan. So if you'll recall, we are legally required to consult on two options, one being the status quo and a CCO option. And so we believe that it would be prudent at this point to move ahead with preparing information around what a model council CCO could look like for those councils that want to participate in that across the region, and then to the side of that, we're also preparing information around what a single council CCO could look like in case, because obviously to have a model council CCO, we need a number of parties. So that gives us a fallback position on the single council CCO of the model council CCO. As it progresses at the timeframes we might need it to progress. Yeah, questions?
No, that's essentially it. The work that has been done across the region thus far to get us to this point has ceased with the production of that report from Morrison. And so it really needs guidance or a resolution from council so that if we proceed down developing a water services development plan from modern council CCO, that we've got the authority to start doing that, because we're going to have to then work with other councils who equally come with the same authority from their own councils, because there's going to be a bit of cost and a bit of just to work that option up to get it what it looks like and take a bit of time. So it really is prudent to ask council for, your approval or otherwise.
I guess after being in front of Minister Simeon Brown the other day, the fact that we're doing business as usual, which I know we have to do, and when the Minister actually verbatim said BAU is no longer an option. I wrote it down and that was what he exactly said. The fact that we have to do another report to do is quite frustrating from, I guess, sitting around this table. So, yeah, I hope that there's a bit of appreciation coming from Central about what actually every council's having to go through when we're being told two different things.
I guess the importance of doing the status quo will be to show our communities who haven't been really exposed to the level of information that elected members and staff totally exposed to, the difficulties that there would be with the status quo. And the status quo is probably not aware that that's not going to be achieved for us on the circumstances.
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge we face, is how we communicate this. I mean, if Morrison Lowe is still talking about figures of 80% plus increases over the next decade, those figures are not new. So the same, those figures haven't really changed from the earlier reports under the Three Water regime. The antithesis, the hate which was directed to Three Waters, with people supposedly being reasonably well informed of what the issues were, it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be directed against this, because it's even though we're not losing the asset, we're losing control over the assets. People are still having to pay for it, and that's the real challenge I think we as a council face, because there's going to be a lot of pushback, because people are going to perceive this again as an asset grab with no real benefits. Now, it's still going to be paying for it. We're losing control over it. We'll have direct impacts on staffing numbers in this building. And the ratepayers are going to see actually very little, or I'm going to say no actual bottom line benefits. Still going to cost them more.
It just has to be under the legislation financially sustainable, so going forward, councils won't be able to underinvest.
Yeah. And sadly, our council, who traditionally we have been pretty good at maintaining our assets and things, we don't have some of the problems that some of our neighbours have, or some of those larger metropolitan councils have. We don't have raw sewage gushing into our streets and things like that. Well, not quite.
No, but we have significant investment in it.
Yeah. And that's the challenge, is actually how we're going to have real difficulty selling this.
I don't think we will. And I think it's on us.
Yeah.
Around this table and this council when we go out for consultation. But as Julie highlighted, it is, for many of us, I've been sitting around this table for 5 years and I'm still working on getting my head around it all. And we're going to ask people to read a 10-page document and form an opinion. We're going to have to do so much more with it between now and then so that people have an idea of what's coming. And Tracy's highlighted some of the conversations she's been having, and people say, oh, Three Waters, I thought we weren't doing that anymore. This is kind of the level of understanding for some of our people.
The majority
That's a big job.
of people.
I know this is a silly question. Where are we now? Well, in terms of our compliance, if we looked at our water service, our whole water entity and council, and we threw it all in the pot together, and we gave ourselves a score out of 10, a minute we've done our Clyde and Cromwell and Alex, are we a 6 or a 7? Because we've got to tell our ratepayer that we've been neglecting them for the last 20 years, but we haven't.
So I would never use that expression because ratepayers have never wanted to pay more money. And so you keep that message and you manage the best you can within that expectation. So this is, and it's also, I think I've said it before, that the more, the lower the density of the connections, which means more rural sort of areas, you've got longer lengths of pipe with fewer connections on them, and you've got more treatment plants. Your costs are going to be higher. It's not about whether people have done a good job or a bad job. It's just going to cost more money to upgrade them, to operate them, to renew them, all of that stuff. They'll be more prone to events because of resilience.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying now, if you look at where we are, it is going to cost. The nature of where we are, we can't have a single service supply. We can't at the top. So I've got no problem with that. But where are we going to be if we take the biggest towns of Cromwell, Alexandria, where the population, the biggest connections are? What does their entirety look like as a scale on a, because the rest of it we're never going to catch up. Even better knows me. Unfortunately, let's average that, but that's just expensive. And I've got no problem in the cost of it being expensive. That's the problem in Central Otago. Most inland council of anywhere in New Zealand.
Look, I would say, and I'm being really diplomatic and technical, if I was going to say we probably ought to apply everybody. And that's because every single council has an issue. They're just not the same issues.
Yeah.
That Wellington had amazing treatment facilities that I could only dream of having because they've got the density to do that. Whereas they've got old failing pipes. We don't have that because our pipe network is one of the youngest pipe networks in New Zealand because we didn't have a very big towns to start with and it had rapid growth. So, everything's like new in the network in that respect. So even Dunedin's got its low-lying areas through South Dunedin, Queenstown's got massive growth needs to service.
So that's not going to change.
We've got meters, they don't have meters, so it's, everybody has benefits and disbenefits.
It wouldn't be as good as any other council around us.
I think the Morrison Law report demonstrates that we're probably in a slightly better position than a number of councils.
But it's only slightly.
And it only takes quite a small thing to hit that balance, for one would say. We've got a $276 million program ahead of us in 10 years, and I would say that I have been very conservative in the funding that I put into that program.
This is your paper. Sorry, lunch 3 more.
Get you pouch and put something saying now
I know.
and live back.
Tim was still doing it 5 years down the track.
He was,
So,
yeah.
you're right, it's not an issue.
By Christmas, we'll be sorted by Christmas.
Oh, just happy for you to carry on. Shall we all just go?
Can I ask a question? I mean, I know that the Morrison Lowe report now is public through the council papers. Are we going to make that report like easier to find in within the papers, like if that's possible?
Well, and we can do, and look, there's some presentations that sort of strip that down. We can put that on our website, and
I think it would be good because
those 6 people that are going to go looking for them.
yeah, but
They must spread the word to
Yeah.
6 more and 6 more.
yeah, hopefully. Please.
Could I go back to the point that Tracy raised initially about politically we're being told that going it alone is not an option as far as this government is concerned. But for me, what's being proposed, A, B, and C, especially C, single status quo or single council or multi, to do that exercise is quite important, because even if you think that a standalone model is not viable, going through the exercise is going to expose a lot of the risks and the costs that need to be dealt with if you look at a CCO or a regional identity. And I suppose what concerns me is that I can't for the life of me see how between now and January you can go out with sufficient information to be able to consult the community. So I think it was suggested at the start of the meeting that we might have to go out as a separate consultation for Three Waters. So, and to illustrate what I think is lacking, if I go through the Morrison Lowe report, I don't see anything about average or harmonised pricing. So that's a big unknown. There's a big unknown around how to handle ring fencing debt levels. There's a complete unknown about the loss of overhead recovery for CODC if we lose Three Waters from within the council. There's no reference at all about the loss of control over land and project development if you now have to go to a regional entity to get approval for Three Waters infrastructure. And there's been no comment whatsoever about what the governance model might look like. So in the papers we've got today, none of those items are covered at all, and yet they're all significant factors in assessing a choice between a standalone, a CCO, or a regional identity. So I just think there's an awful lack of information.
And I think you can't answer any of that information, Nigel, until you know which councils are working together, because all of those questions look different if it's just, for example, us working with 4 as opposed to 6 councils from the lower south working together.
Sorry, that's a fair comment, but can I just say none of the issues that I've raised now, except for harmonisation, have actually even been mentioned in the Morrison Lowe report so far.
And look, I would say that that's probably once you establish that we've got a group of people who are actually politically interested in looking at this, then the next stage will be to start looking at some of that detail. That detail is not going to be available before we go out for consultation. At this point, the only consultation we will be doing is at quite a high level, because we're legally required to do it together, and we need to put some numbers into the long-term plan. So we have to pick a preference. Then you may decide later on to go out for consultation again.
Yeah, if I may just jump in on that. So there's a couple of things. So just quickly, harmonisation. It is alluded to in that Morrison Lowe report in the 80 odd pages. It talks about you don't need to harmonise, but you may harmonise in 10 years' time. So it can be factored into the model, and I suspect it will be in terms of the conversations that have occurred across the region. But with regards to consultation, this is, you are right, Nigel, in what you've identified, and this is quite a vexed challenge, this one. So Duncan's been doing a little bit of work for us to understand the legalities, because the Water Services Preliminary Act has actually different requirements around the consultation. We could consult in the LTP, and I think we will need to consult in the LTP, because the LTP, we're going to have a proposition that you have to put out there that says, and I'm just making this up now, so I'm not preempting any decision, that we are going to go into a CCO of some description, and by 1st of July 2028, that's when we see the start date of the CCO. Because then what that means for us in the LTP is we fund water as a council up until the 30th of June 2028. When we, 28, to that last day, then the next day, the Water Services entity picks that up and it disappears off the council's LTP and budget sheet and all that sort of stuff. Because in the 3 years we have to raise a CCO of some description, everything gets transferred across. And that's the level of detail we will need, because we will need to have that. The Act, if you have sleepless nights, read the Preliminary Act, because it does talk in the sections there about consultation and the fact that you consult on the best information that you have at that time. You can still go out and consult a second time on the Water Services Development Plan, but you are not legally obligated to. You only have to consult once on the model that you're proposing. There's a bit more to it, but that's essentially it. Because we're likely to be in a group of councils that have done an LTP or have not done an LTP. Some of us will probably be consulting around the same time because of the LTP requirement. It has to probably in March. But if you're a Clutha and you choose to come down this path and join in with others, then you can consult in July or June, because you're not beholden to a LTP final. So I guess what that means is this council could have another opportunity as we progress through the Water Services Development Plan, and to come back to you and say, okay, we've actually got quite a bit more detail now. So you could, under the Act, go out and consult again if you wanted to. You're not legally obligated to, but you have an option if you want to.
I mean, that gives some comfort for me anyway, because what I outlined and Julie then described as detail to be fleshed out, but the fact of the matter is things like harmonisation and loss of control over land and project development and loss of governance, all those things are not matters of detail to be fleshed out. They're intrinsic and basic to making an informed decision. And if we've got that period between now and 2028, at least now I didn't realise that, but the possibility exists for a second consultation.
I mean, we won't be able to create a CCO. We're not creating a CCO by the end of September. What we have to submit to DIA is what's the Water Services Plan and options you've got up. And however long it takes you to create a CCO is what you'd put down in that plan. And 2 to 3 years would seem about right.
As part of that, we actually had to include all the councils involved, their proposed transition.
That's right,
and the time on that.
Just in terms of the timing, we're talking about approving it in January and consult over the month of March. So if we're going to consult in March, why haven't we actually got till February meeting?
No. So the timelines for the LTP, we have to have the draft LTP to audit 10th of Jan. We then have to have, the CD consultation document has to go to audit on the 10th of Jan next year. We then have to bring that to council in, because what we give to audit has to be pretty much what we put in front of council at the end of Jan for adoption. Then we have to prepare it to get it to the format that we can then go out and consult in February. There can't be any significant material change between what we put to council and what we put to the auditors. So 10th of Jan is the time we have to get the consultation document to our auditors.
We can't, because we're not going to approve it until January the 29th.
No, the draft audit, well, but the actual report and the consultation document won't go to council until late Jan. So we are putting the draft ahead to auditors on the 10th of Jan,
And we're not consulting until March.
not consulting too much.
Tail's wagging the dog here. In terms of audit.
Quite right.
Yeah.
But,
Sorry, just,
I mean, they are wielding the big stick and they have a number of councils to do. And so that's the best that we can. Some councils have already had to produce their.
oh, that's fair,
documents
yeah.
Already.
It just, you know, when you're getting all the signals and the messages being sent to you, and then you're getting bureaucracy getting on the road of actually making good, sensible, robust decisions, and throw my head and arms up and discuss. So it just seems a waste of time. It's a crock.
And this has been highlighted with the
It's
minute.
not your fault.
No,
With the turnover ROI and with DIA about the fact that nobody's time schedules line up with what's actually required under legislation.
Or
And the
how much
response?
it's gonna cost, actually,
Yeah.
you're not gonna know.
And the response from DIA when those concerns are raised?
Thank you.
Don't you?
you have to make the best of what you've got.
So the other question is, what do we ever change the government? Go back to the result system?
No, you could,
No.
that's not okay.
We have to, by law, produce a water service development plan by the beginning of September next year.
So,
No change of governments.
We're not, sorry, well, my last one. The feedback we're going to get from the community is going to be very
Yeah.
interesting, and I think, not very well informed and not very bloody helpful. And that's not their fault, and it's not ours. It's disappointing, but that is what it is.
We're not gonna see us a whole lot of banners around saying, stop free waters.
local water.
No,
Well,
stop local water done well.
yeah, stop.
We need
No,
to
but
look at
they've
that.
got enough money or.
And there,
Maybe LWD.
but therein lies the problem, because we won't have the basis information to show the status quo, those numbers for people to understand. If we haven't got that, then they can actually come out with that. If we've got something that says that, to Nolan's point of it, then there's less chance of that happening. But I'm glad I'm not in your team.
Look, I think one thing that is going to be important that we do sort of communicate well to the community is council will, whoever is in charge of the three waters going forward, and notice it's never called three waters in any government literature and what's called water services. Whoever is in charge of that, will actually have limited ability to decide what the price will be, because it will be the Commerce Commission largely telling you this is the price that you must set it at, whether because you need to invest more or because you've got maybe over-invest.
And we've seen firsthand how well that works.
So I think, it is a conundrum for people who are sitting around tables who are elected members. Because you are going to be left in the situation of not having a lot of influence, but being held accountable for that.
Yes.
To answer Nigel's question though,
Yes.
about, ring fencing, they did say that they anticipate that debt will be ring fenced for the councils if they choose to go. No, well, it
Doesn't have to be.
doesn't have to be at all,
And
but they're saying that they anticipate councils, so,
Well, they're not going to ring fence to debt. Then effectively you've got amalgamation.
that's what they're saying. Some councils might choose to do that. We
Well,
we
if
can't.
you had a lot of
work in
debt,
other
you can't
councils,
pay your
no.
bills.
But that is what it is, it's amalgamation of the water service.
You'll consider that as part of your water services delivery plan, what the anything's going to be going forward. You work with it then and you'll know. So it's at the moment, it's a level of detail that's not.
Or we need to, are we wanting to have it as an option, do we want to see what
Yeah.
those numbers look like?
Yes, exactly what the-
Yes, we do.
We basically do want to take in.
Yeah, and I think,
Happy to move it.
yeah, we have no choice, we have to take the next step.
Will have done to us, and then they have no control over what you get.
Exactly, I mean, it's wrong, but it's quite a simple.
Other councils have had that experience by not listening to what they're told.
Mhm.
And we ended up having somebody else sit at the table.
They have, and
May well be the case.
So if there's no more comments or anything, Hannah,
Well, I'll second it, I was not, okay.
okay. In the case, all those in favour?
Begrudgingly.
We're not jumping.
Can it be recorded begrudgingly?
Oh,
I don't think it can be.
okay, carried.
And Nigel, who left, did he?
Yeah. The greatest thing about me
Thanks,
is
Jack.
Who was there? No.
Thank you, Julie. We are now moving to page 406. For a CapEx update, Cromwell Memorial Hall project with Gareth. Welcome.
Here's the spin for that.
Good afternoon. So this is report 6 of the memorial report. Couple of highlighted points. You'll see from the photograph that we are erecting structural steel on 2/3 of the building. And as of yesterday, the concrete wall repair has been completed. So we are effectively out of the ground, which is pretty exciting.
Expensive, isn't it?
Really.
It's, we always knew we were going to spend contingency up front, just because of all the cost out to one side, and then we look at the additional costs and time contingencies and what that cost us in overall. And it's very little when you look at the whole grand scheme of things. But I will be taking it to our general council to get the final vetting done, and then taking it back to the companies to seek some recreation. I just don't think it's going to be that substantial.
Yeah, the key thing for me is that we pay good money to get reports done by professionals.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say, 128 grand is a big sum. I know in 45 million it's not, that's irrelevant. It's actually in terms of the fact we went into the project knowing we had dealt with asbestos.
Yeah.
And then think, well, hang on, it didn't, and it didn't to the tune of 128 grand. That's a big number in terms of that particular issue. And when you're knocking the building down, you know, that's a huge cost on the demolition side of things. What happened in the 3 water space? What do we get? That's a big number there. Where Was something not where it should have been again?
Yeah, it always happens, right? So you think the paths are lying in this direction, they're not. There was a bit of a redesign where boundaries were skewed up with meters and, yeah, but it's one of those things we've seen. We even hit a live electrical cable. We had no idea there was. Just not listed, no exports, we didn't find any of this stuff and forward. But like I said to you, good crew, came together, fixed everything, put it back on track. So.
Yeah, it's just to think that some of our stuff is so wrong to the tune of, $750,000 of, not, $323,000. It's, and a $45 million project, it's still not big, but as a standalone sum, it is not insignificant. And it just gets to me, how can we get some of this stuff so wrong? And I hope there's some lessons that we learn or something.
Aren't even liable for having it wrong.
Well, no, it's not the contractor's fault. They got told the pipes are here and they're somewhere different, but still seems to me a lot to shift a pipe. That's a lot of money. Or is
So
that
it's a little bit more complicated than shifting a pipe, but in-ground works are quite complicated.
just a digger and pipe?
We spent about $2 million on all the in-ground works, so I mean it's substantial.
Mhm. Thank you for your explanation.
Always good when you start pouring money into the ground and start getting something above ground.
100%.
Right, any other questions? Right, in that case, someone happy to move that we receive the report?
I will.
Sarah and Cheryl. Sorry, Neil. All those in favour?
Thanks, against.
Especially after such an in-depth look, you know.
Do you want to?
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Sorry, Cheryl was looking at me.
You could do it.
You bring it in.
Page 144.
Doesn't count, never.
144.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right, but I'm just, no, it's not 444 either.
411, didn't realise it was there.
411.
There we go.
411.
It doesn't look big, but
We
it.
take this
It doesn't look
seriously.
like 40
I might
minutes.
pay good money for us to sit here, you just take it first.
Thank you, council. I'm going to take the report as read. It's a straightforward report. It's an application from a water user for a further remission of excess water charges, and it's really, I'll answer any questions that
Must have been one hell of a leak.
What was it?
it could depend on when it occurred. If it occurred early in the billing cycle, if you remember the billing cycle was every 6 months and it wasn't discovered until the end of the billing cycle, it would become a big leak, yeah.
Having been in a similar situation myself, I have a certain amount of empathy with this individual, and I do support the recommendations. And if I'm happy to move them as outlined.
I was doing the only observation I make, it's hard to really fully understand it when you don't know where, just to get a feel for it and to make a decision that's sort of, to me, and I know it's to protect privacy and those sort of things, but sort of going, I can't tell you any more, but just trust me, I know what I'm doing type thing, which is not meant to be disrespectful, but I just find it hard to endear myself towards it when I don't understand all the detail. Because it's the sort of thing to me, sometimes you go and look and go, now I can see why they might not have known. Because it's a big clump of water, but I would have thought with that amount, you'd see something that would tell you somewhere something wasn't right.
But your house would be floating like that.
Well, that's where I'm kind of thinking, that's what, 7,000 cubic, almost 8,000 cubic meters, 8 tons of water.
Over a period of time, 6 months. 8 ton divided, it's not even 1,000.
All I'm saying is that the detail, for right reasons, is not there to make me get a really good understanding of what it's about.
I can give you the address. I mean, it's supposed to be done in public. Excuse me, these things are done in public. It's on Ernston Road in Alex. So, I won't give you the street number.
Is it an absentee owner?
No.
But we only check the water meters once every,
Yeah, but if you've got 8 tons of water on your property somewhere,
depending on how big your property is.
And how long it's been going.
If they do it for drives, look for the Breeders' Block down Erskine Road.
in terms of, it does say that hardship is an issue for this applicant. What
would
would
be
be
for me,
used to determine the hardship?
I guess
we looked at, it's really come from what the applicant has said. And the background is, single parent, double kids, that type of thing, but, we haven't delved into providing the financials. But it's outside of anything that we would normally do. But the applicant has had the, remission, 50% of the remission already applied, because that's part of the policy. And I guess the applicant is, has said to us, and said to many of our staff, I mean, I've kind of got this at the end of the process, that it's a big chunk of money for them to find, and whether or not they do sell their property to pay the bill, not sure that's going to actually happen, but it's still a big chunk of money that they've got to find, considering what they were paying in the past, with the average being $32.
And I don't need any criticism of this particular applicant, and they, as soon as it's been identified, they've had it repaired straight away and have done everything correctly.
Yeah.
I guess it's just unfortunate that it's unfortunate. If I was someone who'd been hit with a similar bill in recent years and I'd paid it, having received the 50% discount, I would then be annoyed. And I guess we have to have a think about the precedent that it would set for going forward, recognising that water usage bills may well go up.
And I don't think affordability is actually an issue. It's the principle. At the end of the day, if someone's had a leak that didn't know about, just because you can afford to pay or not afford to pay, that makes a difference. I don't see why it should. Sorry, that sounds a bit hard-nosed, but the level of culpability, for a better one of a word, is the same. If you don't know, you don't know. What does it matter?
And the reality being that it hasn't cost this council and other ratepayers $800 to manufacture that water.
Sorry,
It hasn't cost this council or the ratepayers $1,800 to.
Yeah.
It's not like other ratepayers are subsidising it if they're not.
There's a more marginal cost in terms of treatment, obviously, because treated water has leaked. But in the scheme of things, it's that the pipes have been paid for, the infrastructure's already paid for, etc. So
I think it sets a precedence, but in a lot of ways it's a good precedence.
That we've got to.
We had one a while ago in our district, and I asked for dispensation. It was a voluntary organisation, non-profit organisation, where they winter drained it. The person then had a stroke and were hospitalised for a period of time, then went back, and then they turned the water on to their own facility and run the $500 bill. The council pretty much said we had no authority to do it, and there were community groups that gave volunteers. So I think a lot of ways it just shows we have got a sympathetic you and I, but you know, and then we're going to be chucking bills at the ratepayer for water in the next 10 years that they've never seen before. So I don't have a problem.
I think it's something up quite well. This is effectively a precedent, and you know, it's going to be difficult to say why we would say no to the next person, because I don't think affordability is the reason. At the end of it, that's the principle.
Yeah.
There's no means testing for this, so
There should be.
you can't.
Well, and maybe that's. And that we.
Well, if we're getting issues like this was coming in on a fairly regular basis, I would have concerns. But because we don't have a history of having these sizes of arrears or, you know, size of leaks, the fact that we're going to a more regular billing cycle, so we're going to capture them sooner, I still don't have a problem with it. I mean, if we were getting something like this coming in, looking back at the history, if we had 30 of these, then you'd have a precedent situation, but we haven't had a huge amount of these, so, and is it a bad thing? You know, if that we are saying to our ratepayers, well, if in circumstances like this, which is beyond your control, yeah, we're not going to pig your head.
I think that's the challenge of what more do you expect people to do? As soon as they are aware they've got a leak, they fix it. You can't fix what you don't know about.
And if the leak's underneath your house and you're sitting on a block of dirt, which is really porous, like the dirt around, I'm getting us like the issue we had. I mean, it was just draining into sand. You didn't know until you actually got your bill.
How many big leaks like that do you get per annum?
I have had this one in the time that I've been with council. I have signed off many remissions, and they've been, $150 type remissions. I haven't seen anything this large since I've been here.
Because if we think about what that would have looked like, what the bill would have looked like under different volumetric charging situations, we will have everybody on our doorstep saying there's a mistake. So that, put that by 4 times, there would have been $16,000 this person would have had to have come up with, and that would be, there'd be significant problems.
Yeah, well, I squealed when I got the $300 bill. It's normally, it seems,
Priceless.
shoot,
That's priceless.
that shoots priceless, thank you.
So part of my logic is that I know there was a request made earlier for a community group up on Lake Dunstan, and the situation is no different. And they got the standard policy remit, but I'm going to go back to them and say, you need to put your case. Because if we approve this, then this is also a yes.
But it is, I mean, if I may, it is a case by case basis, so this is not setting a precedent, but it just opens the avenue under hardship has to come to council if staff believe it. It's beyond our remit, and then council makes the determinant based on the case, but not every case is the same. All cases are different. And it is about financial hardship. In this case, it's an individual. Maybe you take a different view for a collective.
Don't be Scrooge, and it's this close to Christmas. I've moved the recommendations.
I'll second it.
Any additional discussion? Those in favour? Against? Carried. Is that something that we need to look at going forward?
Yeah.
Get some clarity around what defines hardship, because we define for every other aspect that people ask, so maybe we could work on that. And that would then make it easier to you because it doesn't become a.
What does it mean, Stacey?
And we have touched on this, because with the rates remissions policy, you do have hardship as a genuine rates remission. And there is language in there, we just need to be consistent.
That's whether that language needs tidying up.
That's right.
We can tidy it up in LTB as well.
One thing we had right back when I first started a long time ago was those decisions went to the community boards. Because a lot of the situations, the community board members knew the people, and in our situation, we might have, a lot different situations, and it's the first port of call for the community involvement. No, hang on a minute, there could be something here, or there is something here. So I think if we're going to go before it comes to our table, it should go past, well, definitely the chairman of the board. That way, it's like, oh no, there definitely is a hardship issue here, or whatever. It just gives another community feel.
No, so that's a valid point. The only difficulty with that, it's not a difficulty, is the sequencing of community boards being 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
These councils, where council has to decide, it's a full, so we get ourselves out of sync at times.
Yeah, that's right. And it may be if it suits, it suits. If it doesn't, and it may just be a phone call to the chairman of the community board, and they can say, look, I just had a call about this. Because I know, but in our situation, it was a bit sad. I already got the letter from the go-ahead from staff finance. Yes, you could do remission, and then it came back down the line. I've already got the letter, probably in the bag, congratulations on the good work the council have done and understand the situation. It's like, nah, and it's like, at least it shows that we are human after all.
I think we just have to be conscious of that. And that's why we wouldn't mention individuals or addresses or anything.
But if you're going to go to the community board and then pass something, if that was something you were looking at, then you would do. Passing on some of these personal details and asking them to validate whether they thought they were experiencing hardship or not. I think that would be.
We had one come to us that was a person who was in jail that couldn't pay their rates because they couldn't work. You never know, get rate permission.
But that's not.
We're not.
It's not.
It's very questioning, in jail, I can't work.
I'm just.
Hey, look, popular regions.
Yeah, I see that.
It could be that there is conversation discreetly.
Yeah.
I mean, the community board members do sit around this table as well, so they could represent that to you potentially. And council as opposed to the community boards.
Well, as I've always said, it's not hard for a report writer to contact someone in the local community, or on the community board, like the chair or someone else, say, do you know something about this that might help me? Because that's one of the things that, well, we get elected is because we come from a ward. We get to the table, we sit, there's the big picture, but actually we know about the small picture back there. We can actually help. Sometimes it makes things easier, because nothing worse when you've got to correct a staff member's report because they didn't know something they didn't know, because that's what, and that's what, that's what community board's for, we're engaged in their communities.
Becca? Are you joining her, David? Are you joining Rebecca, or are you going somewhere else?
Just doing the calm.
You're really going to hear. Fabulous.
Figures about them.
We are talking about community outcomes at the Central Otago, which has been a lot of work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you. As discussed in the report, long-term plans are required to describe the community outcomes that council seek for their district and identify how their activities contribute to those outcomes. Community outcomes are a useful tool in explaining to communities why council undertakes all the various activities that they do. The Shaping Tomorrow together provided Central Otago District Council with an up-to-date data on the aspirations of our communities, and that data has been used to shape the updated community outcomes. The community outcomes were first presented to councillors at a workshop on 31st of July, and staff took the feedback from that session and came back with a second draft for a workshop on the 25th of September for further discussion. Following that workshop, our graphic designer did his magic, and the report today is to ask council to formally adopt the community outcomes for inclusion in the LTP. The LTP process will provide the opportunity for the community to provide any further feedback that they may have on the outcome statements. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Comment? Interpretive dance?
I don't know that.
I like it.
I think that,
Not really good.
I think the layout of them is starting to look really good. It's the first piece of the LTP really.
It is.
And yeah.
It's neat to see. I like that it's refreshed on what we had.
Yeah.
But the text that goes with it, I think, well encapsulates what each individual value is about. No.
Central government saying the full well-being is going to be excluded from the LGA. How does that affect the sort of work?
So it still applies in LTP plans. So community outcomes are a requirement of the community in that opening statement. If you, Sarah, could you just scroll just a bit?
Yeah.
That first statement there is modelled on what is understood to likely to be the new purpose statement.
Okay.
And so we've, because we're explaining what the role of council is, and then the outcomes being the why we do it.
Okay.
And there's nothing about, well-being in that
Yeah,
statement.
no.
Yeah.
No, well, because I just,
I think it looks great.
I just.
Yeah.
It did, during one of the process, there was some comment or criticism about the frivolous nature of something like this. You know, I can remember sitting in a grey power meeting when the rates increases were being, and this got raised. There was was there much pushback along those lines? Just the grumpy few, which we can identify quite easily.
There were 1,000 people signed up to participate in this process, of which 500 or just under actually took the time to fill in a, 15, 20-minute survey.
Which is significant.
And that was also, before that, we had over 100 people engaged in the workshops and focus groups. So there was pretty broad community engagement. And I think
I mean, we were going about intergenerational thinking and saying, what does Central Otago look like for you? And then remember when we first brought it to this table, some of you said, oh, this isn't a surprise. Because it shouldn't be, because it should respect
Yeah, we should know.
who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it just gives us, I think it gives us all the certificate and some evidence that what we're doing is the right thing.
Where'd the photo come from?
Which one? Right, that's your farm.
I made the lawn there the other day, I'm sure of that.
So the photo you took is out of focus.
It's on the wall, because
I'll take it.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay, recommendations, we receive the report and adopt the revised community outcomes as attached for the 2025 to 34 draft long-term plan and ongoing council strategic processes.
I will, but I'll ask a question just first. When you said that, made me actually think about this and saying that do our auditors have any oversight of this and turn around and tell us we've got this wrong, or is this ours and we own it and they can go and take it runningly?
What are the?
Okay, that's, yeah,
Ours.
it's there. That's,
Auditors have of late strayed into about editing and wordsmithing and content like this, but I think that these sort of things you have a strong case to push back and get them back into their lane.
And we did seek guidance from not physically, but their website has guidance on
Okay,
community
yeah.
outcomes from the Office of the Auditor General, so we followed that quite carefully.
that's what to me, it makes perfect sense. It reflects what our community says and just get worried about audit and what they then start to say, oh, it should say this and not that, despite what something else said.
Community.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, yeah. Cool. No, thank you. That answers my question, and I'm happy to move.
Thank you, Neil, happy to move that.
It's just that thing about the other strategic documents, we're like jumping already anxious to use it, but it won't be able to be used till after it's adopted through the LTP.
Yeah.
But I suspect like things like economic development strategy that's under the development, if the timing doesn't quite work, it can refer to this, for when it is ticked off through that process.
Thank you. Can I have someone to second Neil's? Thank you, Sarah. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Well done. Great work. Right. 2024-25 organisational business plan.
Yeah, okay, so this is just for the first quarter. You'll be reasonably familiar with these now. I'm not sure when they were adopted, but we've brought in some time. Anyway, it just translates what was approved in the annual plan and then puts it into different activities in council and sort of wraps it up in an organisational business plan so we can measure our progress against that. So that's the first quarter, and you'll get the other 2, 3, 4 quarters for the rest of the financial year. So happy to take any questions. Saskia is online as well, and Christine is always sick at the last fence. I'm Bill.
Any questions? Looks good. Something else to do?
Just an observation, this is the executive reporting on their own progress. I'm assuming that there's some things there which it's been flagged, like did not meet the target or only got to 82%, and which has come up in red. When do we start showing some concerns when there's significantly more reds than blacks?
Yeah, look, it's a valid point, and there'll be some things that will stay red right throughout the financial year.
Yeah.
Resource consent process within statutory timelines, those sorts of things. And so where we can, the teams, and it is within the various teams within council, they use this, and of course, we're aspirational. We want to achieve what we say we do. The KPIs in some cases, and then look, we have a chance to address KPIs in the LTP process, but yeah, we will continue to report against, and we will continue to try and meet our KPIs.
Yeah.
But it's in some cases it won't be possible.
Yeah, I accept that. This being the first of report of its that as far as this training is concerned, is any way that to look at these, will I have to go back and find these ones to notice any improvements, or?
I know, you'll see, we can, if we don't, we'll make a note, but we can track, we can put in another column which has the, you know, where we were last time, but have we moved up the scale or down the scale?
So, yeah, I just
We'll come up with something like that to
Yeah.
make it easier
Yeah.
so you can see. That's about it.
I'll shuffle.
Just obviously, just one, the connected community side of things. I guess for that feeling around the community is still out there in relation to, what was previously known as Council Mark. That is, that essentially we will be looking at that for that September next year, but Te Korowai. So I guess just so that the community knows that is actually in the program. And so that some of that hopefully will address some of those things, as well as some new things that we hear is going to be quite exciting.
So there's been some people who are lobbying for that really want us to fail.
Well, do you know what? It's always a starting point, and that is, it's a continual improvement. When we heard from them, that's what it's about, and I think that's somewhere that we can start from.
I don't have.
So-
The people who are lobbying for that will never come back and say, oh, sorry, we were wrong.
Well, at least we're going through the process. We've listened to our community, and we're part of our community, and that's what we're doing.
Any other questions, comments? Perfect. I'm happy to move that the report be received, and so, second that, thank you. All those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you very much. Finance report for period ending 30 September. Page 459, welcome Donna and Paul. Oh, whichever way you would like. I will go with the September. Okay.
So check the paper is being reviewed. This report is to discuss the financials as at 30th September 2024. For the first 3 months of the financial year, the council had an overall favorable variance of 3.5 million, with an overall surplus of 4.2 million. Income has a small unfavorable variance of 93,000, and this is, sorry, pushing this really badly. So user fees, rates, regulatory fees and reserve contributions are higher than budget, with the unfavorable side being grant contributions, your government grants and subsidies, and interest. Expenditure has a favorable variance of 1.24 million. This is driven from staff contracts, repairs and maintenance, electricity, fuel, and interest expense and other costs being slightly favourable. Capital expenditure has a favourable variance of 15.3 million, with 13% of the total revised budget being spent. Projects are all in different stages, from investigation to design, special tenders and under construction. Your internal loans are forecasted to have a closing balance of $4 million at the end of the financial year. And your external currently only contains one loan, and this scheme will be repaid in this financial year. The council currently has a total of 30 million. The planned external debt of 88.5 million. We have currently uplifted since the 30th of September another 10 million, and we will continue to uplift debt as the Memorial project continues. At the end of June 2024, the council has an audited clothing reserve balance of 5 million in surplus, of which the district-wide reserves are in deficit by 24.09 million. At this point, we haven't been able to prepare forecasted debt for this reserve balance for this financial year, and we will be working on getting that to you later than this week. So as at the end of the financial year, there were, deficits. These include the waste management collection, the district water supply, district wastewater, Vincent recreation and culture, Vincent human services, and formal recreation and culture. So these deficits are currently being managed through cash flows from surplus reserves, and this is rather than uplifting external debt. Any questions?
Questions? People are telling, you take a moment.
Then go around.
Yeah.
Question around the general reserve accounts following distribution of, do they remain separate in the rules or they be combined into a district general reserve?
So what will happen with the reserve accounts is they will move with the activity that they align. So currently our reserves go right down to the level. So if you think to the community board reserve tables that are provided in community boards, we list it based on like the pool or a recreation reserve or quite a bit of detail. So they're all ring fenced within your own pots for that activity, so they're being carried out. And so they will stay there and they'll just move. In terms of the actual general reserves, I am unsure of what the decision for that is.
We haven't thought how that might work, given that reserves created from say for argument's sake, target need to stick with what they would create, what funded them. So if it was a targeted rate of some description, then it's I would think it's inappropriate to use that reserve in another area. So we would, there may be, and again we have thought this through to the end yet. There may be some form of ring fencing still to occur, and those funds would be used on projects within wards, for argument's sake, even though it's at a district level. I'm kind of suggesting that you wouldn't grab the common swimming pool and apply it to the Alex pool, because the ratepayers of Cromwell at that time paid for it. So we've got to think that through here as to how that might work, and that will all form part of the revenue financing and the LTP. We need to specify in the LTP the reserves and the purposes, etc. So we'll be dealing with that at that point.
And I guess you'd have to also consider then the likes of the reserve contribution accounts that are made out of resource consent applications, about just whether a reserve contribution made for an application in the pies and moorings area for it, whether that should be spent in the Cromwell ward or goes into the big general district pot. And you're right, makes sense that the revenue financing policy should address that, so it's quite clear.
Yeah, but we will need to be addressed. Although my initial thinking on that is things like DCs.
Well, these are separate, these aren't DCs.
So these are kind of your
resource consent ones.
Reserve fund contributions. Yeah.
So it's basically money in lieu of land.
I think there's a requirement where we have to check that is used in all the areas, so they will continue to be.
But the key thing is the revenue financing policy is the right vehicle to work that through, and there's going to be some things you'll go, oh, hadn't thought of that. No one, there'll be a few unforeseen consequences, I think, to work through. That'll be good and bad.
Once you've gathered the arrangements from, eventually that will, we could start out with that. Or would it?
It depends, I guess, on the reason that the reserve was created. If, for argument's sake, the reserve's created because an activity was underspent and therefore made a surplus, and we've taken that surplus and put that in the reserve, it would be prudent to take that reserve balance and use it to reduce rates in future years. So eventually those reserves will disappear. But things like more your capital reserves, your three water stuff, you'd want to continue with those. And they're already districtised, so this doesn't really matter, but how I'm kind of envisaging it is that you would ring fence and use those reserves as they're needed in the area that they originally generated from. And they'd either get used up or, well, they would get used up. That would be the purpose of it.
Once they use that, then it's just.
Yeah, and then you're back into a general district-wide
Yeah.
safe rating, say the community facilities rate that we're proposing to create. You would have a general community facilities rate that would be used across the district.
Thank you. Recommendation that the report be received. Just have to move that. Thank you, Cheryl and Sarah. You guys in favour? Against? Carried. Adoption of the annual report. Yay!
So I think the paper is being read. This report is to consider and recommend that the council adopts the 23-24 annual report. For a quick summary, we ended the financial year with a net surplus of 8.7 million, compared with an annual plan estimate of 6 million. Main income drivers were grants and subsidies, then development contribution and financial contributions to the revenue side, with the main expenditure drivers being on the admin side being depreciation, mobilisation and finances. Our capital expenditure was $29.6 million, with the annual plan budget being $39 million. The overspends being in roading and environmental services, which can offset from these services in libraries. The council has achieved 64.3% of its performance. But this is a reduction on the previous year where it's 66.7% was achieved.
Thanks. Questions?
I quickly should note that I do have the signed letter of representation from the signed by the board and the CE, table that, along with this signed independent report from the board and so.
Great. Thank you.
Don't touch.
And some of that, can you just cover off on that surplus amount? Where that's generated from?
Okay, so majority of it is through the development contributions and also your vested assets, which does pull through an unbalanced budget every year because they are more capital or non-cash in nature. Vested assets being assets that are gifted to us, we have to recognise under value. Into development and financial contributions, cash receivable developments to go towards past and future growth assets. Did you have anything in particular you would like me to discuss?
No, I guess just to clarify that we haven't ended up with that because we've charged people too much rates, that it's come from outside of our control.
It does. So when we have the surplus being so high, it does make it difficult to understand that we are running an unbalanced budget, which means that our operating revenue and our operating expenditure for non-capital items is actually unbalanced. So we're actually receiving less revenue and for the operating expenditure. It just makes it 8 million.
Changes it. Thank you. Any other questions on that?
Have we fixed that? What have we done?
So it's some of it can be down to your funded depreciation and others can just be what you've spent during the year. So if you consider the operating expenditure that we've had outside of the campaign budget, which includes your insurance increases, there's some personnel costs, and then there were also some other operating contracts for water and waste, which was slightly higher. So of course our revenue is fixed at the time that we set our rates on the 1st of July. And so we can't really increase that unless we have more fees and charges coming through, but we might have more expenditure that's outside of our control that we still have to.
So we can only fix it the year after the fact.
And that's when we had projected 10 million in land sales,
Yeah,
and we didn't get anywhere near that.
that was the point I was going to make. A lot of the budgeted revenue was in land sales that we didn't achieve. Land sales are included in the balanced budget calculation. The danger with including or relying on land sales to balance your budget is that eventually you've sold the land and you're still in the same position that you were prior to selling the land, and you still haven't effectively moved to balance the budget from normal operating sources. So,
Which is right.
which is rates, so rates and subsidies, NZTA contribute to that as well. Yeah, but there was a significant chunk of land sales that would have gone into that.
And they have been sold or are still to be sold.
The land,
Yeah.
it's still to be sold. So we budgeted for it to be sold.
Yeah.
And when we produced our budget, we had for 2024, we had a balanced budget because it included land sales.
Yeah.
We didn't achieve those land sales, therefore we couldn't, the budget, the graph shows we hadn't balanced it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, recommendations. We receive the report and adopt the 2023-24.
So
Oh, you changed.
yes, so on Audit New Zealand's requests, we have made some additions. So A is the same as put in the report, so we receive the report and it sets the level of this. B, receive and approve the annual report for the year ending 30 June. C, approve the mayor and the chief executive to sign the representation letter. D, to receive the audit report dated the 22nd of November 2024. And B, adopt the annual report for the meeting.
Succinct. Thank you. I'm happy to move that. Thanks, happy to second it. Thank you. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much for all your efforts.
And Jeff, I'm not too sure if many of you met. They were as accountants, and has helped quite a lot through the basically done most of the courses.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Much
Keep it close on it.
It is wonderful to get that squared away. Prior to Christmas. Merry Christmas. Right. 468. My knees. Exciting. I know, Jeff.
Ricky.
Wow, a whirlwind first up in the mayor's seat. First up, senior prize given for Dunstan High School and Cromwell College. Often we, the proverbial we, complain about young people these days, self included. But I've had my faith restored in the future after seeing the exceptional results coming out of our local schools. Previously, you might have been an academic achiever or a sports star like Stewie, or perhaps king of the drama club. And now we have young people turning up with excellence in everything and grasping every aspect of school life, from music to leadership to multiple sporting codes, all while maintaining an excellence endorsement. Congratulations to all those who have been recognised so far from our school communities. And one thing that has come about since I went to school was both of the presentations that I went to, and I'm not sure if they do it at other schools as well, but it sounds like they maybe do, is when the student is awarded ducks, the whole school get up and do a haka, which is so cool. You could see they're really overwhelmed. At one of the schools, the girl was standing right in front of me and the whole body was shaking. It was, it was amazing, incredible. I've been through to community board meetings in all 4 wards, along with workshops, breakfast meetings, and informal coffee catch-ups, and then a roadie around Mum's Flat with Mark. On the 1st of November, myself and Peter, along with those of you who joined online, ran a zone meeting in Balclutha, where Morris and Lowe were here to help us analyse and critique the numbers and talk through the options as they see them. And we've now taken that first step to progress the next phase and see what that looks like. Stepping into Tim's role in the health reform working group has been a real eye-opener. And I guess getting an insight into some of those other aspects that we maybe weren't aware of has been interesting. While it's important that Dunedin do get a new hospital that is fit for purpose and can carry advanced trauma services for the wider region, we cannot ignore the changing demographics of the South Island. Benji Patterson recently released work that highlights within 15 years the population of Central Otago and QLDC may surpass Dunedin. There is undoubtedly a case for increased health services in this area and an opportunity to do things differently rather than having one big hospital in the middle somewhere. Feel positive about the breadth and expertise of talent currently working on these challenges in the best interests of all our communities. VCB welcome their new chair and deputy chair in Jaden and Roger. They do a powerhouse of work for their communities, those 2 men, and I think they are going to be wonderful in their respective roles. And then work on a potential regional deal continues in the background, as Peter highlighted earlier today, and may move to the foreground in the foreseeable future. Most of the pre-chat work was undertaken by Tim. However, CODC is very much a part of these conversations with our neighbours, and as Tracy has mentioned, both Minister Brown and Minister Jones highlighted that regions that are working together in the water space were going to receive preferential viewing of their regional deal applications. This week in Wellington, I attended a reception at Parliament with Air New Zealand, who are soon to celebrate 85 years of aviation in New Zealand, which is apparently very, very uncommon because most airlines around the world kind of hang around for a bit and disappear and a new one crops up. So Air New Zealand's one of the oldest.
The New Zealand do that, you haven't had to prop them up.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just like farmers used to be.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I caught up with our old friend Tim
CMP,
to
can
make
remember
sure
that.
that he had some friends, and he does, and he's finding his feet, and it was really neat to catch up with him and then have him sat in the back of the room at our 2-day combined sector meeting and then rural and provincial, which Tracy came along to. And because I had to write this on Wednesday, I hadn't added the things that I wanted to add. And I spoke a little bit about rates capping that came on the first day. We had presentations from both Victoria State and New South Wales State in Australia. And I spoke about those on the radio a little bit before earlier this week, which I'm sure everybody was riveted by, because who doesn't want to hear about rates capping at 8:30?
You sound really enthusiastic, though, can I just say? For the topic, your enthusiasm is
Next level.
comes across. Bouncy.
It was Tracy has highlighted what Minister Brown said about BAU no longer being an option, and he did highlight that we have inherited pressing issues, which I of them. Levies was talk of the day. We definitely don't want more of those. We heard from Mayor Wayne Brown out of Auckland, who was kept on track enough to tell us that it's not just local government that's wasting money, and it's a bit rich coming from central government. He says he also only fixes the things that need fixing, and that's why Auckland is surging ahead now. There was a panel discussion around the benchmarking and the Te Kowai program, which used to be called Council Mark. Minister Jones was talking about the application process being a drafting race for regional deals. He has the power industry in his sights, apparently. Now,
Who does?
Mr Jones,
Oh, yeah.
and Drill Baby Drill.
And
Central
geothermal.
Plateau,
Geothermal.
geothermal.
What do
Yeah,
you think we've
watching
been
out.
doing the last
Pilots.
70 years?
Clearly not enough.
And this might be of interest to us with the, the amount of land and sunshine we have. He's interested in clean green energy, so long as it is not part of a fairy tale.
So Big Hydro's back on the books.
And he
No.
confirmed his intention to share Crown Minerals royalties with the area where the mines are.
Suddenly.
Mhm. That was kind of the
So-
guts of the.
Is coal mining in that realm as well?
Royalties.
No.
I don't know whether that would be considered clean and green.
Well, in America now, they're actually using coal power, their energy requirements, because they're getting clean to burning all the time, and they're putting zeolite in the smokestacks and making agricultural fertilizer, and they're putting their own steam. So if you're going to look at all those avenues and mining, because it would make a massive difference to the West Coast, for example, if you can use coking coal out of the West Coast, and
If you want to learn something fascinating and be both horrified and astounded at the same time, there's a new show on TV called Landman, set in Midland, Texas. And if you hop onto Google Maps and have a look at what the landscape looks there, it's terrifying, because every 30 or so metres, there's a concrete pad with an oil well on it, and it goes for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometres. Oh no. Other than that, really positive note. That is my news report. I'm happy to move it.
I'll second it.
Second that. Thank you very much, Stu.
That's your first one, isn't it?
Those in favour, it is the next person.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Those in favour,
Aye.
against, carried. Much appreciated. 470, governance report.
You are unbelievably joyous at 8:30 in the morning when you come on the radio, and I don't expect you, I have to say.
Did you like my toothpaste?
I heard the first one, what was the second one?
That's one, of course.
Oh, yeah, I was going to send a message to him about Taylor Swift. Next thing should we talk about her opening the act for the hall?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I'm gonna pitch it to the Wedderburn cottages, because I reckon if it's right there in Tracks Council Estate cottages, they will be 100% on board.
That's
Oh,
who?
geez.
Who's he?
Yes.
Who's he?
Hey, Smith.
Who's that? All you got a poster of in your bedroom, what are you talking about?
I don't,
He's got a picture of George Michael.
I don't actually watch.
You won't get the relevance of that one.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
All
but
right.
that's all right.
Sarah, have you got anything that you wanted to add to that report from Wayne that has got out? Council status updates and the Otago Museum update report that they've seen through. No, she's in.
I've got a couple of comments, because there's a couple of significant things in there that need to be pointed out. I just allow me to go back to what I find my highlighting. Because one of them's been around for a long time. But we go. No change. On page 477, we've got a land development engineer started on the 18th of November on a fixed term contract to update NZS 4404 addendum.
Yes.
Hoorah!
That is significant.
That's a very good question. Thank you for the opportunity to respond. We're just literally, Martha started a week ago, and we're just scoping that out, so I can't give you a definitive answer to that at the moment, but I will definitely give you one year's in December.
Yeah, because it can't close it till that you've got a plan, but it's really just great to see that at long last it's actually got some wheels, because it's taken, actually, I'll just tell you, since when?
And we're working with Julie as well, and there'll be some changes to some of the national engineering standards. So we're just looking at what does that picture look like outside from the road and something as well. So we just want to pull
2019.
Yeah, it's only 5 years on the status list. That's almost a record thing.
Well, I didn't want to peak too early.
Well, you can't lose that list. Well, potentially. And the other one to note is that great to see that Bolton Hogan's plan change got through with no appeals, as did the Heritage plan change. So they're going to be notices for being operative coming out this weekend. So that's a couple of big ticket items to get. Plan change 21, which was Bolton Hogan at Pfizer, and plan change 20, which was Heritage Precinct. All done without any appeals. So yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Which is, yeah, that's cool, because it means that we're doing our job.
Doing it well?
We can still do our job and get appeals there.
We still get a,
Yeah, yep.
I see the house overlooking the bridge in Cromwell's. It's
Yes, and
front of the jet and before, yeah.
I mean, just, and on the Target Museum report, I had the occasion to go down to, it was in the evening the other week, and went to the museum for the first time in a while. And it's always good to get the reports, but to go there and just then to just reconnect. And taking the grandkids into the butterfly place, that was pretty cool. So it's,
You go up to the attic with all the stuffed animals.
Oh,
no, I didn't see any dinosaurs like you there, no.
It's all right,
Pigs and
it's the
buffaloes.
days. I still remember what mower tastes like.
But yeah, just, it was a good opportunity just to see what money we put into that sort of thing and see what it does deliver and go, well, yeah, it was pretty good. I'm really did enjoy it, so.
I'm excited to go to the Lego exhibition, so.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah, coming up.
Josh, just a question in relation to one that's on hold from the Coburn Hall Committee. Is that going to come up with the hall stuff that's coming at us down the track? Is that going to be part of that work?
It isn't at the moment,
Okay.
no. But I can, take that into consideration.
I'm just thinking if it's time, if we're talking about other stuff,
Yeah,
probably need to talk about that at the same time.
we do on.
I don't think you do, no, it's Coburn Library, Coburn Community and that.
The reserve.
Facilities that are available, if we're looking to divest examples. But it's not part of, but I'll look at that into the. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Tracy will move that the report be received and Lindsay will second that. All those in favour? Against? Carries. Moving on through, Community Board Committee Minutes, 536. It's on those. Happy that we move them?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Next, Stu. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Date of the next meeting is exciting because it is the 18th of December in Cromwell.
In Cromwell, what's so exciting about that?
We're going to Cromwell. We're on a roadie. We're taking democracy to the people, Stuart. And I suggest that you might want to
I don't
hear.
think you listened to the question. What's exciting about, oh, sorry, yeah.
Please be aware that we will be in confined spaces. So you may wish to wear a short sleeve shirt and it will be permitted on this one day to not be in a three-piece suit. Because I have no doubt that loads and loads of people will want to come and it's going to be a bit of a squish, so.
I know a very good website, you can buy short sleeve shirts.
If they look like that.
If they look like that, you're gonna send me the other one.
I've got one too. You know, the better ones, right?
Like I would be willing to contribute a spot prize to the Christmas themed person.
It's a council meeting.
It's
Not a
council
friend of mine.
meeting, but we're not, we're allowed to have fun.
Just give it to him now, because he'll come with some radical thing, he's got a kid's page draw.
He's gonna get the hats go with it.
I can bring us some spare Christmas earrings if anyone needs them.
Oh, I've got some spare ones too, because I got a whole heap for $6. Very
China.
And with that, we move resolution to exclude the public.
Comment.
The next page, Neil will move that. Thank you. Sarah will second it. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. We'll have a momentary break while Sarah.
So, a relaxed dress day.